So hey guys, it's your boy King Kyan, and we're back with part 2 of some of the teams, their control hero breakdown. So I just want to address one thing first, and that's the lifesteal. Now the reason for the change is unknown, but there's bound to be either something on its way, or simply it was most likely to stop players abusing Pearl for the star trial. We know Pearl in Subterra could solo wreck with an infinite amount of heal, so this most likely stretched the star trial, so changes were made to stop this. If you don't know what those changes were, the lifesteal now only affects basic attacks. For it to affect physical attacks, physical skills or magic skills, you will need either a physical percentage adder, so such as Wreck, Gridlock, or Aurora, or a magic percentage lifesteal adder, such as Merlin. So I'm going to start with the team breakdown for you, the skill breakdown. I'll go through Beast Souls last. I'll show you a bit of their stats. So we got Alma, and I'll just quickly show you Alma's attributes. We see decent health here, nice ability power here, decent magic penetration, a bit of energy steal, good energy boost, decent attack speed in the plus 20% range, and magic pen at 9.5. So skills, Ghost Swarm is summons the power of Ghost to deal magic damage to enemies in the area and knock them up. We can see it's pretty decent damage here. It's an AoE skill, so it's gonna hit a swarm. It hits a decent amount. If you can bunch them up, it will knock up all of your enemy. Teamed with Ghost Whirlwind, it's good. So summons a Ghost Whirlwind to deal magic damage to enemies in an area. So then we have Ghost Strike, summons 3 spirits to fight for you. Stats the summon creature grow with the hero. The ghosts tend to sit on the edge of the battlefield and attack inwards. It's decent damage, not too much damage. I would say unawakened, it makes Alma okay. Not a top class hero that you actually want to be building and be thinking, oh yeah, I'll run her unawakened. You'll need her awakened minimal. Then we have Ghost Power. Fear of Ghost causes the enemy's magic resistance to lower. Effect increases with base magic penetration. Magic penetration boost. So this is based on it boosts with your magic penetration. So enemy magic resist minus 321 for me, which leads me on to the Awakening skill, which is when summoned ghost dies, Alma gets a Ghost King layer. At 3 layers, Ghost King is summoned. Ghost King HP regens when ghosts die and his attacks lower enemy magic resist. Ghost King takes 40% minus a 40% reduced AoE damage, and he lowers enemy magic resist 160, which is half of whatever ghost power is. So it's vital that you raise your Alma's magic penetration to a decent level so you can have more magic resistance drop, which will affect ghost power and the Ghost King. Now which this leads us onto the skin, which is Ghost and Ghost King attacks will leave a mark on enemy units. Alma skin or basic attacks will do extra damage and knock airborne marked enemies. When Alma dies, her creatures will get a 50% damage buff. So what you really want to be using is this skin. It makes Alma, it takes her up a level, increases her control, and how she does it, because we have 1-2 attack skills with AoE damage. This turns Ghost Whirlwind into a mini version of Ghost Swarm. So if you have the 3 Ghost plus the Ghost King on the field, you can hit maybe 3 to 4. If you're lucky, you can get all 5. Drop a Ghost Whirlwind in, it knocks them up, then ult, it will knock them up as well. So this is why I like Alma, this is why I use her for her control. Alma has decent health. This AoE means a constant heal. If you can get Lifesteal onto her, she has a 0 Lifesteal stat, but as soon as you add on anything that adds Lifesteal, she gets a base Lifesteal stat. So that's Alma. Then next we have Medea. So Medea stats first. We see decent health, decent armor and magic resist, an okay ability power. We see a much higher magic penetration here. We see crit strike damage is okay, and crit strike level is pretty decent. We see an attack speed boost of only 12% here, 13%. Energy boost is great, and the magic pen of over 50%. This is what's key, is Medea's magic pen. So we go to the skills. Shadowbind, it's an immobilization skill, so an interruption skill. It only lasts a split second, I would say. It can interrupt ultimates, which is great. We don't use it for that. It hits decent, especially when she's boosted, so it's a decent skill to have. Shadow Smash, which is her silent skill, is one of her key skills. It's an AoE silence plus damage. It hits for a decent amount of power, nothing too special, but it's great for controlling an enemy, especially an enemy that just runs, let's say, mid-row marksmen. You can silence them if they don't have that Aurora to speed them up, or that Pierre to just push them through before they can get silenced. Bailing Bite is pretty weak skill. Locks onto the target with the lowest health in the area, dealing continuous poison damage and summoning a Baneling to attack the target. It's mostly good for when she is awakened, but this by itself, again, it makes Medea a pretty average looking unawakened hero. People will have to deal with the silence, which they'll find difficult, but it doesn't, there's nothing here that actually makes Medea something that you want in your team straight off the bat. I would say it's not going to give you a high rank at all. Maybe before you get like the Scorpions unlocked, this will help, but a Gridlock would pretty much shut down a Medea instantaneously. The poison damage is okay from there. Now, Magic Enhance. Her passion for magic gives her a huge store of magic energy, increasing her ability power. Effect increases with a base ability power. So we see here that her ability power here is a plus 4,000, which is huge. So that 13,000 just became 17,500. So this is pretty huge. Then if you add on, let's say, a Merlin who can buff about 11,000 at this level, you're talking about someone who has 28 to 30,000 additional, who has a 30,000 base ability power. So her purple skill makes it that little bit more viable early game. Drops her out, I say, mid game before level 90. You will start seeing teams countering you heavy when you have this. But then it's her awakening that brings her back to life. Using Baneling Bite will summon 2 Lordling bugs. Lordling attacks will briefly silence targets. Lordlings prioritize attacking enemies who are not already silenced. So when this Shadow Smash drops and silences I would say a small area of heroes, the Lordlings will seek out those who are unsilenced and go and deal with them for you. They also do not die unless killed, so they have to be killed like every other summon. They don't expire, and they will keep attacking. So if the enemy does not get rid of these, they will keep falling underneath silence, which then leads us onto her skin. So when Medea casts Shadow Smash, a spider web will be spit out, which deals continuous damage and silence effect to enemies until the web is destroyed. So here you have a link skill. So you get this Shadow Smash, drops down. It then has the Wicked Web on top of it, which has a bigger AoE, and it is a constant silence effect with continuous damage. So if you was to fight a Medea versus a Gridlock, it would be a great example to see how this skill works, how this skin works, sorry. The web will be down and Gridlock will just constantly cast his ult. You will see that he just continuously just keeps gaining energy, and it's because this silence effect keeps trying to take effect and he just wants to stop it, and he will just keep going ult. Makes Gridlock the counter to Medea. I don't fear it if I can get the knock up in and the interrupts in to stop Gridlock from ulting. But if Gridlock is in a team with an Aurora, then you could be looking at your team being wiped out pretty quickly, just due to the boost that Medea will be giving Gridlock for free. Miasma Aura is a good captain skill, especially with how good her magic penetration is. She should hit hard. I don't use it. I may start thinking about using it just because now Medea is my sole damager in this team. So she may get the Miasma Aura, which will just boost her attack damage. Now the next hero is Merlin. So we see here, let's start where we're supposed to start. The attributes: decent health, very low armor, very decent magic resist, decent ability power. The magic pen's okay, great lifesteal, some energy still here, not much crit strike damage or level, nice energy boost, attack speed of over 24%, and a magic pen of over 35%. So this is really good. She's still not going to be doing the damage, but she's going to be doing nice buffs for us. So we see here, bust the target with Elven Magic, raising ability power, and Magic Lifesteal. Selects target with highest ability power by default. So we see here that we see the ability power, but we don't see what the Magic Lifesteal stat is. I will get onto that in a second once I finished looking at all of these skills. This is a great boost. We see it's almost half of Merlin's, well, almost half, it's more than half than Merlin's ability power. If you add that on to a Medea who buffs herself, you're looking at an 11,000 buff on top of that 13,000, so there's the 26,000. And then adding on Merlin's other skills and her captain skill, it can boost them further. Magic Strike releases magic energy, dealing magic damage to surrounding enemies. This is an AoE skill. It doesn't do much damage. It does a bit of damage. It's not going to win you a battle. It's just going to help you with just getting more and more damage down. So Elven Summons summons 3 little animals who don't attack. As long as they survive, they increase their team's magic lifesteal. Again, we see that there's no stat for what this magic lifesteal is, but I'm going to talk about this once I finished everything, and you guys can tell me what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? But it'll be interesting to see what everyone else thinks about that. So the ability power of the whole team is increased by the power of the forest. Skill effect increases as your ability power increases. So as Merlin gets stronger, this skill gets stronger. It's not that big of an ability boost, but it's still an ability boost, and it's for the whole team, helping the team hit a bit harder. So it's a nice purple skill to have. It's one of the things that I would say make Merlin, all of these 4 skills, make Merlin viable from early game all the way through until late game. She is still a viable hero. Next we have her Awakening skill, which increases magic lifesteal for Magic Rush heroes. Magic lifesteal effect plus 21.2%. And just in case anyone thought I was just saying Magic Rush, just say Magic Rush. It's the name of the group that Merlin leads. So it's here. So it's a pretty decent Awakening skill with some pretty decent heroes in. If you can team Merlin with a Halley, it's pretty good. Merlin with a Lotus is pretty good, or with a Ovid or a Quinox is pretty good, and also with an Edwin if you can get that right team for Edwin. It gives these healers, Murphy and Karis, bigger heals. It also enables Vela to be a bit more tanky. Kana, it gives, if you like to use Kana, it gives Kana a bit more power as well. So just back onto her skills, the last skill we have is a Fairy Counter. Enemies who kill little animals will receive a counter attack from them, taking damage from them and being turned into a little animal for a short time. This is a great interrupt skill. So I said it in the last video, someone like a Halley who likes to do her ult and then send her scythe flying around the screen. If they hit a pet, Halley turns into a bug and forces an interrupt on herself. So it just allows Merlin to have a bit more sustain and output a bit more of this support which she likes to do. So now back onto this lifesteal value. I will use my Alma for example. My Alma with just a Agrius would heal for about 5,000 from skill damage. From Alma's ult, she would only heal for 5,000. When I team her up with Merlin, the Elven Summons, it takes it up to 30,000 heal, and the Elven Shield, when Merlin drops the Elven Shield on her, it takes it up to 60,000 heal. So I'm looking at a 6 times increase just for the Elven Summons, and I'm looking at a further 6 or 7 times for the Elven Shield, which means, does this increase, is there a hidden magic lifesteal stat that we're not aware of, or is it a percentage? If it was a percentage, it would be a pretty huge percentage. Alma gets 15% from the Agrius and heals for 5,000. If you times that by 5 to say this would be the additional, you're talking about a 75% magic lifesteal from Elven Summons. And then if you times that by 6 to get for the Elven Shield, you're talking about another 90%. That would mean that that Merlin is doing 90% plus 75% magic lifesteal, so that's like 165% lifesteal. Then if you add on the fact that for her group that she gives another 21%, which I think is more decent, you start seeing that she's given near enough 200% buffs, which I think is just too much, and I can't see them allowing this to be the way it is. So maybe this is just a stat that they don't want anyone to see, rather than a percentage. But I'd like to know what everyone else thinks. Do you think it's a stat, or do you think it's a percentage? What's the difference that you guys see? I see that big of a difference in my team, where my team has a 0 lifesteal stat, and they get that base, that minimal base. Maybe you see something else. So moving on, we're going to move on to Kong Ming. So we have Ming Power, summons 3 magic spells that deal damage to whichever enemy they hit. It's a nice skill. It hits pretty decent. It can hit everything on the entire field because it has a huge cast area. It's a skill that I really like. And with that plus 7, it does some great damage. So then we have the Green Dragon, summons a dragon to fight alongside Kong Ming. The dragon casts Taunt at the enemy under cover of heavy armor, but also takes extra AoE damage. So the dragon doesn't attack, but what it does is it just taunts and it takes damage. Next we have the summons a magic portal, rendering the enemy motionless. If the portal is not broken while in effect, the enemy will teleport in front of Kong Ming. Now, this will usually get broken if the enemy team has someone who attacks close things to them, because I would say it's something that's targetable. So even though it immobilizes one unit and you get the interrupt and immobilization, much like Pagini, for a few seconds, it's a much shorter time scale. It's a pretty nice skill, but it's easily broken. If you get the portal off, then they port in front of you. You also have the Green Dragon, which works really nice alongside this skill, because it just allows that hero who's been teleported to not then focus down on Kong Ming, but allows your team to focus down on them. We then have the Master Plan skill, which is Kong Ming periodically casts a spell on the enemy, dealing extra damage and a 1-second stun if the enemy takes AoE magic damage while under the spell. So in a team that has a lot of AoE, this stun will go off quite a lot of time. This has a high cast, I find. I see a lot of stuns come in, and where Kong Ming is the only one in my team who actually does stun, when I see the stuns, I quite like it, and I can see that the cast for this is quite fast. Really works well with the Ming Portal and the Green Dragon, and any team that does AoE. So my Alma who does AoE, my Medea who does AoE, and my Merlin who has AoE. So The last skill is the utmost effort. When Kong Ming's dragon dies, the weakest teammate will get a HP boost. So it's a nice little HP boost. It's not much, but it will just keep that weakest hero alive and just help them keep going. When Kong Ming takes a fatal hit, he will receive immunity from all damage for a time. Occurs only once per battle. This is a skill that if you're seeing this skill go off and it's only coming on the field and the enemy has more than 3, expect death. If you see the skill going off and you still have your full team and it just happens to be a smoke that you're fighting, you may get lucky and Kong Ming survives and your team help Kong Ming to sort out that smoke, and then Kong Ming can heal back up and be back into the fight. So that's Kong Ming. We didn't show you his attributes. Mine is only 92k, so there's about a 20,000 power difference between him and Alma. We see here the armor is okay, the magic resist is quite low, the ability power is okay, health is okay, the magic pen is quite decent, the quick strike is not that much, a little base energy still here, pretty decent energy boost, and attack speed of over 30%, which is nice, and a very low magic pen. This is just because he has high hitting skills. So if he had, let's say, 10%, he would be hitting for very much more. So go in back, we're going to go to Candy. So my Candy is only 60k, so she has pretty decent health. This will keep going up and it will be a very nice stat once it is up. We see the armor here, this goes up and this will be nice once it's up, the same as the magic resist. The magic pen we see is like this, not much magic pen for her to receive, pretty much for the same reasons as Kong Ming. We see a nice lifesteal stat here, and we see the crit strike damage here level, it's quite high, so she can do, if she can get off a crit strike, she will do pretty nice crit strike. Energy boost we see at 27. The shield effect we see at 20%. This can be increased and become maybe 30 to 40%. This attack speed here we see it at under 10%. I wouldn't expect much increases on this. I think I can get this increased a bit, but it wouldn't be anything in the 20% to 30% range, just because if it was, Candy would be casting this shield a lot and you would be having a different fight. But we see the magic pen here is over 30%, which is nice. So she has a crit strike damage. She won't get the huge magic pen though, just because then she would become a very hard hitting support hero, and that's not what Candy was built for when she was built. We see the nice initial energy here as well, 160, which means she can get off her ult a lot quicker. So onto her skills. We have the sweep beam here, drops a candy explosion from the sky, dealing damage to enemies in the area. We can see the damage plus 7,000, so it's a decent hitting skill. Getting her ability power up, she will start hitting a lot harder, maybe 40 to 50,000, which is pretty decent, especially as it's an AoE skill. We see Candy Twist here, wraps a nearby teammate's body in candy, increasing the target's armor and magic resist and giving them a damage absorbing shield. So the shield effect is plus 8,000. I haven't got it maxed, but it would be about maybe 10 to 12,000 once it is maxed. The armor add-in, this would go over, this would be maybe about 400 or maybe just over 400, same as the magic resist. And this really is a skill that I just use to counter the Coco debuffs. Candy just to keep adding those shields and adding that armor and magic resist up. So then we go on to Bitter Taste. So Bitter Candy will hit a target and bounce to another with the lowest HP, so it hits 2 targets, absorbing health regen and shield effects from both of those targets. If not enough healing is absorbed, it will deal damage to the target. This effect can stack up to 5 times. So this is where Candy can get a bit of damage going. If Candy was with an Ovid and where the others can't really put out that that heal, it would just be, this skill would just be continuously dealing damage, especially if it was in a control team like I have. this skill would become a lot more effective than people think, and this damage output would be huge. I like it for the absorbment, so we're talking a 70k heal can be absorbed. I said I can get this skill going, I can get the 5 stack in about 3 to 5 seconds in my team. So we get this one that hits the 2 targets. We then have the candy tree. Periodically a tree will grow amidst the enemy. It will explode when hit with AoE damage from own team, inflicting damage and bitter taste on nearby enemies. So let's say this is an AoE skill again. So the candy tree gets hit and it hits 3 heroes. Those 3 heroes transmit that bitter taste to 1 hero. They now have a stack of 3. Add on the bitter taste, that's a stack of 4. So we got 4, and it's pretty much that instantly that it happens. And then we have the Ever Tree, which is Candy's Awakening skill. Grows a giant candy tree that will explode when it receives damage from teammates, dealing bitter taste effect to surrounding enemies. So again, what we're seeing here is another form of getting out bitter taste. So this can be an attack from anything. So if you have AoE damages like I have, and they're hitting a certain area a lot, you will get 5 stacks on everybody pretty quickly. So this is an AoE skill, and this is an I would say an AoE effect. But the candy tree and the ever tree combined, it's an easy 5 stack, and you can get it every 3 to 5 seconds if you've got the right team and candy's not being interrupted, and your team can output consistent damage or a continuous damage like Medea's web to the candy tree, to the ever tree, sorry, and you will get that 5 stack pretty quick. This is why I like Candy. Most people say Candy's not viable. She is viable if you can use her correctly. We looked at the attributes, so what we'll do now is we'll just look at the beast souls that I'm using, just so you guys can see. So I use Agrius on Alma. I could use Nightmare, but I don't want to be running 3 nightmares. Candy will be my other nightmare user on this team, just because she gives positive and negative effects. Candy can give a positive effect to the whole team, reducing the crit strike for the whole team. Merlin with the Agrius is substandard, though when we look at that lifesteal, does she actually need this Agrius? It's more, I use it for the continuous HP regen. That's why these 3 have Agrius, the continuous HP regen and the shield effects that it gives out. If I was running a purple one, I would have stackable Agrius, but I don't have a purple one because I need the life. Well, firstly, I need the lifesteal, and secondly, I prefer having that huge shield. Kongming, most people would be like, oh, why don't you run a Phoenix on Kongming rather than this Agrius or a Unicorn. Again, I just like what the Agrius does. The Phoenix, Kongming is not my main hitter, so giving him the Phoenix would be pointless in this team. He would hit for a bit harder, but it wouldn't be enough to substitute what the Agrius does for me. What else is there? I can't get out of it. Here we go. So just onto here, I'll just show you the runes quick. The equipment I use. I use Force Book on Alma just for that early knockback with the stun. It works great. It causes early bunching. Medea's web then goes down afterwards. So Shadow Smash and web go down afterwards. So it's an early bind. It's an early bunch up with an early silence. It works really well for me. I use the Bleak Scepter, which deals increased damage to enemies with lower than 35% health. Just means that Medea will try to deal with enemies who are low health much quicker. You can see that the extra magic pen percentage this skill gives is nice as well, and that's pretty much why I use it. Merlin, I don't use the the Eghanim cloak, just because it tends to go to summons. I tested it just to make sure that I was correct before I said that. It's correct. She will use this skill early to keep a summon alive, which you don't want. So really you want to set it to Robert's Gauntlet or the Spore Umbrella. Robert's Gauntlet I use because my Merlin has enough lifesteal already, and the extra energy regen that she does is probably more useful to get out another ult for me. Kongming, I use a force book just simply because most people will try to counter me with a smoke, and it's just an early knockback. If they don't use a smoke and I get a portal coming in, we can take a hero down. If they're not in that silence, the force book will push them back with a stun, and then just give me a bit more time to get some control onto that hero or get them focused down and out of the fight. Candy, I use the Spore Umbrella just for now because she hasn't got enough stats to survive, so this does some lovely heal. Once I have got her to a decent power level, I will probably switch to the Bleat Scepter because she makes for a nice finisher. When you get people down to low health, she can help just finishing them off, hitting a bit harder with her AoE ultimates and her AoE skills. So guys, that's why I use these guys. That's the skills I use, that's the equipment I use. That's my Beast Soul ideas behind them. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to see. If you do want to see anything else, do let me know and I will let you know. Again, if you have any suggestions on what this team might be, do tell me, and we will see. If you can guess what I'm using, again, you can't use these heroes, but do have a guess, have a try. Guys, thanks for watching again. I hope this helped. Again, love your suggestions if you have any suggestions, and I'll see you next time, guys. It's your boy, King Kyan.